It's typical school construction. Not anything any different than what you would be building. The other contractors, Daugherty Company, Jordan Smith Electric, Brewing Company, are all, as far as I know, union contractors. Most of those companies were on the school that they just finished in Fayette County. They've done work all over Greenbrier County and several other counties also, McDowell County as well. So we've never had an issue with them being on time or on budget, and we've never had an issue with them with other contractors. And that's really all I can tell you, other than the fact that the SBA, I'm really worried about if there is a difference and you go to the next bidder, making sure you have the money to come up with that, because I'm not sure the SBA is pretty positive that they won't chip in on that difference, that cost difference. Is that the conversation that you had with Dr. Manchin? Well, do you have other questions that I can maybe answer?
I do, and I think that it would be appropriate for some of these union men to be able to ask questions also, because I think this is a big decision that
That's fine.
is to be made, and it's really not normal to do that, but is it okay with you guys?
Could I ask something? What you had, the idea that you came up with the bringing people together to decrease costs or something,
Mm-hmm.
you talked to this person?
Right.
Are you familiar with any such process?
You typically, the SBA would pretty much frown upon that at this point in time. If you choose, if we were to go back and say, okay, the fourth bidder up, for instance, say you wanted to go to BBL and say you wanted to do that, then the SBA would say, wait a minute, you have to set this thing out to rebid altogether. What BBL is referring to is it's what most contractors want to call value engineering, and that's not a good thing after in this type of an open bid process. You want to do value engineering, and in a situation where you hire the contractor, hire the architect without bidding the job, and you work through a set of documents and work together as a team to achieve the goal, rather than going back in after the fact. Because generally who suffers is the owner. They typically don't get what they pay for in the scenario that they prescribe. That's really not a great situation to be in if you were trying to get money out of the job after the fact, especially after you hire that person, because you may not get a portion of what you want to achieve out of that contract, out of the building, without the product suffering. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not really the money that I'm concerned about. I mean, I'm concerned about the quality and where are they going to bring the men from to do this work?
Well, typically, these guys might help me answer this. The SBA asked Radford that, and typically he hires a lot of local people if that's what the board would like for him to do. The issue is, as far as the union's concerned, they get those guys out of the hall. Is that right? Typically you get them out of the hall. And maybe, I don't know whether everybody out of the hall is going to come from Harts, or if they're going to come from Huntington, or if they're going to come from Charleston. I don't know. That's something I don't know anything about as far as like hiring union guys out of the hall. These guys know more about that than I do.
I can answer part of it. I have an answer for me. When a company does agree to work with me, I'll take everybody they have. The extra people come, and I do hire local. If it goes to the Harts, all my people will come right from the Harts area.
That's something
but you can't displace other people.
Right.
Yeah. Donna wants us all to agree that we're going to let you guys ask a question, and they've proven to be very gentlemanlike and not out of order, so I'm sure that we can do this in order. Is it all right with you guys if I let them ask a few questions, since they are?
We need to suspend regular rules of order, I believe, to do that, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I just want us to do it so we make it legal
I just,
and appropriate.
could we have the opportunity to ask first?
Sure.
Then, I understood you, or at least I think I understood you say that it wasn't uncommon for there to be a great discrepancy after that low bidder and then the next several that might be close together.
Yeah, and any kind of a job where you've got a lot of interest, you typically have, even if there are 5 bids, say there was 5 bidders on it, a lot of projects you'll get 5 or 6 bidders. And you'll have one that's really high, and typically a group of people that are real close together, and then one that's lower than the other group. And he either leaves a lot of money on the table, it's typically hopefully out of his profit, because he really wants the job. That's typically the way it works. Every so often you'll get all of them really close together, and one guy wins by $10,000 or something. I've seen him win by $1,000. I've seen him really close before. We had a bid recently on a project where the bidder left a year and a half ago. The bidder, he's just finishing up the project. He left over $1 million on the table. He's a union contractor, and he's said he was going to be finished early, and he said he was going to be finished in December. It's now April, and or in May, and he's not done. So he's, it happens to everybody. I mean, it has to do with the weather, has to do with site conditions, has to do with complications on the project, unforeseen issues. It could be a multitude of things to cause a contractor to be late or be on time.
That would be true of any contractor.
Right.
But I just want to clarify, because once again, it seems, the concern that we've had initially here, and as conveyed by these ladies and gentlemen, such a great discrepancy between that low bidder and the next 2 or 3. And that's why I was wondering, once again, you're saying that's not unusual.
My mode of practice is, as soon as the bids came in, the next day, I got on the phone with the contractor, the low bid, and I asked him to double check his numbers and make sure he was perfectly fine with his number before we did anything, before you all voted on anything. And he got back with me and said he was very comfortable with it. It was low, but he was comfortable in doing it and said he could do the project. And then about a week later, I made the same phone call because there were some questions because he was so low. He assured me that he was perfectly fine with his bid, and that's really all I have to go by. If he's willing to risk his bonding capacity and his bond on this project, then there's nothing more than I can do. And if he meets all the state guidelines, there's not a whole lot I can say about him, because he's been very successful in the past.
Well, I understand that. Maybe I'm not saying my question correctly here. What I'm asking, is it unusual for there to be such a great disparity between the low bidder and the second low bidder and all? Because
not really.
In your initial remarks, you said that was kind of it was commonplace for there to be
occasionally it is commonplace to have that discrepancy. It's like I was telling you, the project we had recently that's just finishing up about a year and a half of construction, there was over $1 million left on the table.
The difference between the low bidder and the next person?
Yes.
Because I think that's all of our concern here, is that there's such a great disparity, and some of the